Diabetes, MS, childhood leukemia, asthma, deadly food allergies. These are the questions everyone in America should be demanding for the medical establishment right now. That's how we make vaccines safer. And we've got to take vaccine testing away from the CDC. We've got to make sure that there's a new body, a new health body that investigates vaccines firewalled against the industry, that doesn't have the conflict of interest that the CDC has. A brand new testing body that looks at every single vaccine, how they interact with each other, which has never been done. Oftentimes, babies are receiving 7, 8 different vaccines, sometimes even 10 vaccines at one time, and we have never tested the safety of putting these vaccines together. This is what we want from this film. I want safe, healthy vaccines for everyone that believes in them, and I want an end to mandates. In the United States of America, the government does not own my baby, and it does not own me, because that's what's next. Mandatory vaccines for adults are in the works in Congress and Senate right now. These next elections are so important. We, the people of the United States, are the ones that make the difference. We have the power, and we must not elect officials that are being bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry. That's what this is all about. That's what the Vaxxed movement is all about. Please go to our website, vaxxed.com, join our newsletter so that we can reach you and make a tactical effort to change the laws and policies that are impinging on our rights, taking away our freedom, so that everyone has vaccine and medical freedom in the United States of America. Thank you for being here tonight.
Hold on tight, you guys. I don't know if there's any way to signal them up there. Can we get some lights? Lights. They're coming. We need more light than that.
They just rise up slowly.
Okay, just hang there. Yay! All right, thank you so much. Take a deep breath. Couple of questions I want to ask you guys really quickly. Who cried? Who got really, really mad? Yeah, this should be the whole audience getting mad, I think. Okay. And one thing I just want to, because the lights were down when Dell asked if there was anyone with a vaccine-injured child in the room, and I think I saw one person stand up. Would you guys mind doing that again? Because I'd like to capture that. If you have a vaccine-injured child, can you turn the camera around? Okay, all right, good. So we've only got 2 people in the room with vaccine-injured children. Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Just like Andy Wakefield just said, this movie isn't for us because we already know the truth. This movie is made for those of you that have not experienced this yet, so that you can have an understanding of what's going on and why we've been screaming at the top of our lungs for so long, trying to get people to hear us about this vaccine issue. Until it comes to live with you, you really don't know what is going on. And unfortunately, those of us who have vaccine-injured children, we're not out in the community interacting with people on a day-to-day basis. Those of us who have severe, and I'm one of the lucky ones, my son only got 4 vaccines. He is very high functioning. He's verbal, he's potty trained, he's social, he's reading, he's doing fantastic. He's doing so good compared to some of the children that you saw in the movie just now. However, I have PTSD, and I wake up in a war zone every single day because I never know what is going to trigger my son to have a meltdown. He's 10 years old. He comes up to here on me already, okay? My brother's 6'5.5". So in a couple of years from now, I'm going to have a prepubescent going into puberty young man that's going to be bigger than me. And when he gets upset, he hits me. And, you know, he's getting harder and harder to control. And I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to help, you know, you guys got to understand that those of us that have vaccine-injured children, we are dealing with a nightmare. And my son's high functioning, and it is a nightmare. I do not wish this on anyone, okay? And I thought I was taking the conservative route. I had already heard the MMR was a bad one. I'd already heard that giving more than one dose at once was a bad thing. I'd already heard that thimerosal vaccines was not good. So I went in prepared to say no to vaccines. My pediatrician was supposed to be a vaccine choice-friendly pediatrician. I was still bullied into getting him vaccines. I said, okay, one at a time, spreading them out. Give me thimerosal free. I want the inserts, all this stuff. I thought I was doing everything perfectly. I stopped when he was 6 months old. He hadn't had an adverse event because when you're less than 6 months old, you haven't hit any milestones. He wasn't sitting up, he wasn't he wasn't talking, none of that. So I don't have a moment where I could say, well, he was walking and talking and now he's not. So I had to stop just on mommy gut. And then, you know, a year and a half later, I got the diagnosis. And so I've been on this journey for a very long time. Even with my son's injury, I fully believed it was because he got them too young. 3 years ago, I was given a Tdap vaccine. Caused severe nerve damage. I'm still suffering from that. Okay, so it's not just the kids, it's not just autism. One out of every 20 children under the age of 5 has a seizure disorder. ADHD, these things are rampant. I mean, these were unheard of when I was a kid growing up. You know, and when you hear them say that there's a better diagnosis criterion, and that's why we're getting more children diagnosed. Nonsense. Tell me where the 1 in 40 autistic males over 40 years old, where are they? Because they don't exist. So is there anyone in this room that has a question that was not addressed by the filmmakers in the Q&A?
I just have one question.
Yes.
Is this, you know, I'd like to, you know, email my clients and stuff. Is it going to be shown again in Atlanta anytime? I know you said you guys.
There will be a few more showings in Atlanta. I cannot tell you the date for the one in September yet. Tentatively, it's looking like it might be the second week in September, maybe around the 14th or shortly thereafter. I'll be doing another Q&A. Most likely it'll be at the Landmark in Midtown, and it will be a Q&A with the filmmakers. I am waiting to hear from them as to when they'll be able to get to Atlanta. Right now they're traveling around the country with an RV, taking vaccine injury stories and having people sign the RV. So they're getting ready to head in this direction. When I know what date, that will be announced on the Vaxxed Atlanta Facebook group and the Vaxxed Team Atlanta Facebook page. So if you guys are already haven't, go like the Facebook page for Vaxxed Team Atlanta, go join the Vaxxed Atlanta group, and since you should have given us your email, I'll be sending out a blast to everyone that's attended any of these Gathr screenings, letting them know when that screening is going to be, because that really will be the last time that you'll be able to see Vaxxed on the big screen. So now we have live streaming off the website and DVDs for pre-order. So if you can't make it to the theater in September, there's another opportunity for you to watch the film. So, premonition. Yes, so if you go on the website, vaxxed.com, you can stream for $3.99. It's a 72-hour rental. The picture quality is going to be dependent upon the speed of your computer or the device that you're watching it on. The DVD is for pre-order on the vaxxed.com website, but also on amazon.com. And that's going to be, it's going to have an hour of bonus material. Some of the interviews that were cut out of the film will be there. That's going to be a pre-order, and then it's shipping out, I think, the 9th. So you should get it around the 13th of September if you order one. Okay.
And that's on Amazon?
Amazon.com, and we are now the #1 documentary in new releases. So go on Amazon.com and leave a review, because that helps people when they're deciding whether or not to order the DVD. So anyone else? Yes.
Is there a reason why it wasn't in all the theaters? Was it banned from theaters?
Well, in order to get a theatrical release on a nationwide basis, the theaters really have to they have to believe that there's a marketability for it. And unfortunately, there's been so much pushback on this film after it being pulled from Tribeca. It was also banned from the Houston World Fest Film Festival. It was pulled from a theater in Tempe, Arizona. I think in Tempe, or it was a theater in Arizona pulled it after pressure. We've had a couple of other theaters. AMC pulled it after agreeing to do VAT screenings. They pulled it from their lineup. I mean, it's just you're looking at censorship big time. This film is being sent. Listen, there's no other documentary film that's ever been made that major newspapers and television, specifically newspapers, have run reviews and articles by people who haven't seen the film. Negative reviews and articles written about this film, to saying that it's an anti-vaccine movie, saying that it's all about Dr. Thompson, Dr. Andrew Wakefield, and he's fraudulent and discredited study and blah, 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 blah. You guys just watched the film. Was it anti-vaccine? It wasn't. Did they tell you not to vaccinate? What is the point of the movie? Well, we need safer vaccines, but what's... It's about CDC. It's about fraud. They're lying to us about the safety. We have a right to stand up now and demand, okay, that the right thing is done by our children. Because now we have one government agency that is not only mandating, but also buying and selling vaccines, doing the safety testing to basically protect the vaccine makers. And then we have the head of that same agency going to work at a lucrative position in the same company that she helped exonerate their vaccine for. So serious, serious problems here. Yes?
Does anybody in the film give the average American pregnant woman a recommendation on what she should do tomorrow? You know?
Well, I mean, if you ask Polly, Polly is, like me, a mother of a vaccine-injured child, not a doctor, not a scientist. And she would say, stay away from doctors, stay away from pediatricians. There's never been any safety testing done on vaccines in pregnant women. So they're recommending the flu vaccine and the Tdap vaccine for pregnant women. It's never been tested for safety in pregnant women.
More when they have the baby. I mean, the average American woman is going to put the child in the public school system, so they're going to have shots. I'm just wondering if...
No, they don't.
Yeah, I mean, you can, yeah.
Well, right now you can.
Right now, but I mean, most women will. I'm just wondering if...
Well, there's a lot of
It's
deception.
not an no vaccine. I was just wondering if anybody in the movie or anybody within your group had come up with, okay, if you are going to vaccine, after everything we've done, here is our recommendation.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
you said, what
Like
do you ask
said.
for?
Because you
Well, I just
your
told you
advice
I-
based on that it
Yeah, it's
was
still
too
there.
young.
So I just told you my story. I thought I was doing the right thing by demanding single dose.
You did way more than the average person would have ever done.
Right. But if I had known what the science really says about vaccines in infants under 12 months old, he would never have gotten those vaccines. Because the science, the true science, because you hear them talk about science all the time. Science, science. They blind you with science, right? The real science is that an infant under the age of 12 months old cannot launch an immune response. There is absolutely no reason to give a vaccine to a child less than 12 months old because they aren't going to launch an immune response. So you're simply risking the child's health. And the only reason that they give vaccines to children less than 12 months old is to train the parent to expect the vaccines every time they go into the well baby visits. And they know that if you make it to 12 months without getting any vaccines, the chances are in that time, you are probably going to make a decision not, and you're going to continue to delay, and you're going to continue to delay those vaccines. And if your child, and listen, if I met someone, and I do not tell someone to not vaccinate or to vaccinate, but if somebody asked me what I would do, I would say, don't vaccinate, especially if you have a boy. Look at your family history, because we do know that there are certain factors that nobody is talking about and nobody is even trying to do, which is that if you have a family history of autoimmune diseases, you're at higher risk. If you have the MTHFR gene, you're at a higher risk. If you're a boy, you're at a higher risk. If you're African American, you're at greater risk. If you are and if you have twins, they're at higher risk. If you have a C-section baby, if you have an older father, you're at higher risk. All these things, none of them are even being considered. So I would say, don't vaccinate until you have done enough research, right? Then the other thing I would say is, if you are absolutely positively dead set on vaccinating, because some people really believe in the religion of vaccines, and I call it a religion because they ask you to believe completely, to give a complete faith and not question, okay? So for those who really, really believe in that, I would say, especially if you have a boy, for sure if you have a boy, but wait until after 36 months. Wait until after they're 3 years old, because this study right here shows that the children that got the MMR vaccine before they were 36 months old had an increased risk, okay? Almost 8-fold increased risk. And that's all healthy babies, right? So I would say definitely no vaccines before 36 months. And then I would say, at that point, if you absolutely, positively must get a vaccine, then you really need to look at what's the benefit, what's the actual risk of contracting the disease, and contrast that against the actual risk of having an adverse reaction. Because the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that these diseases, they really are not that great a threat. We know how to handle these diseases when we come down with them.
Some vaccines don't work. Whoopie cough doesn't work.
None of the vaccines work. None of them. Yes.
They made it sound like the reason that guy couldn't talk before Congress is because he's still working at the CDC. Why didn't he quit?
You know, that's a grand question, and if I were to be in front of Dr. William Thompson right now, that's the question I would ask.
But he could be put in jail if he quits
If
and
he's a
speaks
hero,
out.
why didn't he?
No, if he were to speak, no, that's not, no. He's under whistleblower protection right now. He has an attorney. He is completely protected under whistleblower status. What he cannot do is speak to the press, okay?
But if he doesn't work,
Correct. I don't think he's.
So I have a theory, and it may be incorrect, but I hope he's staying so he can keep an eye on what is going on until all this goes down. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can only take one more question, though. Yes.
In 1972 in college, I was taught about the vaccine causing autism. That was then. I decided myself to individually give the child against the doctors and everybody's demands. And I spread it out until they were in kindergarten. And then they told me they wouldn't allow them in school unless they were vaccinated. But from 1972, this issue is still there, but not you're making it known.
Conscientious objections to vaccines have been around since the very first vaccine. I encourage all of you, if you want to know more about this, I just finished reading a book called Dissolving Illusions by Suzanne Humphreys, and she goes over the true history of vaccines. How the smallpox vaccine was never smallpox, it was cowpox, how it never stopped any of the diseases, how if you look at all these diseases were already well on the decline, well before the vaccines showed up. So, okay, last question.
One real quick. I am a parent of a vaccine-injured child. Her first injury come from a DCAP shot.
Yep.
Shortly after that, her seizure started. They told us it was a fever, it's okay, it's febrile, they won't have any more. they came back 2 months with a vengeance. She was flown 6 times to Scottish Rite
Mm.
in status. Shortly after that, she had the MMR. Her sister, totally healthy, plays at one of the highest levels in soccer in the state of Georgia, well in the southeast actually now. I encourage each one of y'all to contact your state representatives, your state senators, your congressmen. This mandatory vaccine is not gonna happen at my house, not on my watch.
Right.
I'll let that stand for the record right now.
Okay.
Contact your representatives and your senators here in the state of Georgia so we don't have the same thing in California's got.
Yes, please do get involved because these cats down at the state capitol really are not that much different than the ones in DC, in the sense that if you go into the Capitol on any given day, you will see large groups of lobbyists there, and they are wooing our state representatives and senators daily. And the biggest one is the pharmaceutical lobby. Okay?
Pay attention to your local
Please
people
do.
and
Yes.
vote for people based on what they believe in. Don't just not vote.
And find out where they stand. Don't guess. Ask them flat out. What is your position on mandatory vaccines? They'll probably say, well, you know, we don't have, it's
Did
not
you have
mandatory.
one?
It's coming down the pike, you guys. California was the testing ground. It is coming, and once they've got mandatory vaccines for the children, they are coming after all of us. Because when you hear them say herd immunity, from now on, when you hear them say herd immunity, I want you to think to yourself, they're coming after me next, because they cannot get that herd immunity with the 3% of children that are not vaccinated, okay? All of us. Who here has had a vaccine in the last 10 years? 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? The rest of you guys, all your vaccines have worn off. Okay? So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close this up. Meet me outside. You guys, all of the proceeds from the merchandise sales goes to help the filmmakers stay on the road. So if you, and then if you, I want to get your story, sir, so come find me afterwards.